Oh hey, it's me, Staria. As you can see, I've gotten myself in a bit of trouble, but not to worry, as apparently there's a game show known as the Shovelware Brain Game, and I'm going to be participating in it for a cash prize. I assume at least, but that's not for a while, so in the meantime, let's take a look at some Roblox games, both new and old, with millions of visits that have died. For nearly 20 years now, we've seen time and time again Roblox games rise and fall from popularity. This can be because of a lack of updates, bugs that break certain mechanics or the entire game itself, or just complete negligence from the creator not wanting to work on it anymore, or just wanting to work on bigger and better projects today. I'll be checking out these games that were either recommended to me or I discovered while researching for this video. I'll split this into two categories. Well, really three, as I wanted to really focus on fighting games more, but I also get into things like social hangout games or survival games. A good example for a now Roblox fighting game is Roblox Battle. Created by Games in 2012, Roblox Battle is what's considered to be an enhanced version of Crossroads, with both Crossroads weapons, but other weapons such as a dodgeball and a projectile deflector, and multiple game modes and even armors with various different effects for players to choose from. The game was very popular, gaining up to 10 million visits, but with it being on copy lock, it led to people making their own versions, essentially making the original game unnecessary to play, when players can just mod their own versions with whatever weapons they want, which led to the game dying. Not only that, a remake was made in 2018, but with even millions of visits, it still died due to the lack of updates from their creators and also lack of popularity. Sarb, created by Correction9, made in 2020, is a third-person fighting game with multiple classes where you and other players duke it out to see who makes it out on top. The classes in Sarb consist of a sword fighter, retriever, Robloxian, brawler, and a scourge, all with skins and various mechanics to use in battle. The game was pretty popular as it was essentially a third-person Smash Bros, if you'd like to call it that. The buildings themselves were pretty well built, the animations were good, and overall it seems the only reason the game could have died off was due to lack of updates and the creator just not communicating with their fanbase on the Discord server, which doesn't exist. Back in 2008, a popular game in the shooter genre was Paintball by Daxter33, made in 2008. Paintball was a red versus blue paintball game with multiple game modes consisting of deathmatch, team swap, controller, elimination, capture the flag, base defense, and King of the Hill. These game modes helped Paintball rise very far in popularity, with it gaining 40 million visits and even getting copied by Jared Valdez 4, who was infamous for copying multiple games from other creators. The game eventually died due to it no longer receiving updates, causing it to get very buggy and some of the mechanics and features no longer working because of Roblox updates breaking the game. Murder games are nothing new to Roblox, and with that, there are two very prominent and popular Roblox games that have died off. One would be the Mad Murderer Classic by Lolris and the Twisted Murderer by Taymaster, both in 2014. The Mad Murderer Classic was your typical murder mystery type game, but with the twist having a special game mode called Murderer Madness, where everybody is given a knife, as well as the murderer ability, with it having a timer and every kill adds 10 seconds to the timer. Twisted Murderer, on the other hand, added multiple game modes along with Classic, consisting of Double Trouble where there are two murderers, Juggernaut where all players can kill the murderer, Murder Freeze Tag, Share Free-For-All, Murder Free-For-All, and even Half and Half. These two games were very popular back in the day, rivaling Murder Mystery 2, with the Mad Murderer receiving a remake in 2021. Sadly though, the Twisted Murderer completely died off due to Mad City being so popular that neither Taymaster, not even Framed Chris, who was a dev to help with Twisted Murderer, neither of them could have helped work on an update for the game. Next up, we'll be looking at very popular creators who have made multiple games that have been on the front page. While researching for this video, I picked out two games originally from Silver World Gold 2, now known as Preston. He had numerous RPG sword games. Some of these include Darkness of Time RPG, Sunbird Sword RPG, and Silver Sword RPG 3. I'll be real honest with you, when looking for sources I realized the RPGs that I mentioned are most likely not even real. I don't even know where the hell I found these games.
Okay, so for clarification, apparently they existed when they went by their old name but are now deleted, I assume, but there's a chance they might not even be real because I got them off the wiki.
But what I didn't expect to find was the amount of actual games this person has actually made when checking their profile. Multiple games that made millions of visits consisting of Disaster Dome, Giant Survival 1 and 2, King Clash, Guest Quest Online, and 8 others that have also died, with way less visits than 1 million. Surprisingly enough, Disaster Dome is the only one that I've seen that is not closed and still has active players, despite the fact that it has very clear bugs and hasn't been updated for a while. And since there was a remake of Giant Survival, it left 1 and 2 to rot and catch glitches, which is why they're both now closed. Even though Giant Survival 1 was the best out of the 3, the remaster by Big Game sucks and it's lame and it feels so corporate with zero charm whatsoever. I swear to God, I hate. One of the devs that had the biggest impact for the silver age of Roblox would be a group called Blockage, owned by Asmon Walks. They didn't have that big of an impact on the Roblox community in general compared to previous devs that I've mentioned, but their work was nothing to be ignored, as his work was extremely impressive for the time. I'll be going over 3 of the most popular games out of the 6 that were made. Wreckball Survival works similar to a lot of survival games, but with the twist of the fact that there are a large variety of balls that have their own abilities, with the game having special rounds that will pick someone to be a ball, and it got pretty popular for its unique style and gameplay, along with a capture mode where players are given this little energy item that's meant to capture the ball, but can only be used once for a little while. But if you stand on these highlighted platforms for long enough, they'll shoot out these energy balls, and depending on how big the platform was when you standed on it, the more will shoot out of the platform. The energy balls are meant to go into the ball to capture it, which is why the game mode is called Capture. One of my favorite one is the funny Snake Man, but it didn't last long because of a lack of updates since 2020, which honestly I don't blame them since that was when Boost Vector, developed in 2018, is a fast-paced platformer where you and 9 other players race in these really big maps, but instead of running, you're actually skating, which is why most of the time it's extremely slippery. This is one of the most popular out of the 6 because of it still getting updates, even though the last one was like 5 months ago, but we don't talk about that. It had a variety of items, which I can only assume were meant to help out the player or be a cosmetic. And this game is like very slippery, and when I say that, I mean it, like. It was the most popular out of them, but now it doesn't seem to have much of a big player base as it used to. Noob Smacker. What do I even say here? The premise is very simple. You just drag your character around and have it attack a variety of noobs or guests, which you gain money for every time you kill one, and you even fight bosses. You can even get these little buddies to assist you out when you're fighting them. And every time you kill a boss, you go to a new zone. There's even quests for you to gain more cash. The game's premise was very simple, but died due to the fact that it was kind of irrelevant. Lastly, we'll be looking at games made by Stickmaster Luke. Not Natural Disaster Survival though, since that game is barely dead and is not going anywhere for a long time. Oh god. First up is Cube Eat Cube. Made in 2015 with 35 million visits, it was pretty basic as its main goal was to be a copy of games like Agar.io, which were very popular at the time. I don't really like it because it was pretty slow and this guy wouldn't stop fucking camping me in the corner. Next is Downhill Smash, made in 2008, which is also pretty basic, but also had 6 million visits. It had an admin game pass, Omega admin game pass, and the premise was literally just go up this hill and dodge cars. Underground War is the second most known game by Stickmaster Luke. The game is a capture the flag game. Players are placed in either red team or blue team, depending on the amount of players there are in teams of the game, obviously. And most go underground to fight the other team. Each team has its own side of the map, which includes holes for digging underground. Players start with a swivel. If you don't know what a swivel is, you're probably too young to know, and if that's the case, I hate you, and a sniper rifle. The starting weapons were also able to be upgraded in the shop. The objective of the game is to dig to the other team's side, earn knockouts, and try to capture the flag. Players can earn credits by digging blocks, killing enemies, and capturing flags. The credits can be spent in the shop to upgrade the player's weapons. Finally, there's Laser Tag Arena. It was your typical shooter and wasn't as popular as the other games Stickmaster Luke made, but nonetheless was still well known, though the game no longer works as it should due to it no longer being updated in the fact that it was on copy lock, so people can make their own versions of Laser Tag with Stickmaster Luke's code. Last up here in our journey through dead Roblox games are social hangout games, mini-game places, and survival games, sci-fi, etc, etc. Just anything besides fighting related or combat, as I wanted to make that its own little section for the video. Adopt and Raise games are nothing new to Roblox. If you haven't heard of them, you're probably 40, and if you are, get out. If you don't know what Adopt and Raise a Baby is, it was a game developed by King Andrew K in 2016. It was a game where it was pretty simple, so simple it was literally in the name. You pick the role of being a parent or a child, and if you're a child, you'd go around and ask players to adopt you. The game was extremely popular for its roleplay aspect, but also extremely hated for its roleplay aspect. If you don't get what I mean, then you're probably 40 and I told you to leave. I said go, shoot. The actual reason as to why it was hated, it was because of e-daters being e-daters. And so, you know, that made the anti-e-dating warriors very mad. Some of them did some shit that I can't talk about here. Oh, and it was also deleted because King Andrew decided to trade Adominus. Keep in mind, I tried looking like everywhere to find an exact reason as to why their account was deleted. From what I looked at, I could only assume it was because they were like trading and they got like Adominus or something. That's like my only guess. The game was also considered to be the predecessor to games like Adopt Me. Lab games or science-based games were very popular back in the 2010s. Two very popular ones I'd like to talk about are Innovation Labs and Innovation Arctic Base, both by Mad Attack. In Innovation Labs, you are a scientist that does experiments and tests in an underground base. The game was very popular for the core concept, where you would melt down the core to the point where it destroys the entire facility, or freeze down, which was a rumor that was made by fans, but was later actually implemented as an actual feature in some fan-created versions of those lab games. Both games were very popular, with Innovation Labs and Arctic Base reaching 33 million visits each. I didn't discuss much on Arctic Base as it was very similar to the Innovation Labs. Back in 2008, a popular game in the minigame genre was Person299's Minigames by Person299. Person299's Minigames is a round-based minigame with 26 minigames. Should have been 29, I'm just saying, like, I know we gotta respect the dead, but I'm just saying. At the time, Person299's minigames was extremely popular, for exploiters at least. Since the game used to have no filtering enabled, exploiters used this to use their exploits, for example, deleting the lobby, killing other players to win minigames, or just giving everybody infinite points. As of summer 2017, the game was given filtering enabled. This has prevented a lot of exploiters from using their exploits, but also increased the player base for that time. The game is still updated in fact, but does not have the active player base it used to have back in the 2010s. Thanks for watching my dive into the look through of dead Roblox games. I'll probably make more if I get enough suggestions for some. By the way, I recommend checking out Toasted Cherry's video on this exact same subject. As we had the same idea, mine was just pretty late as I literally just finished the RFTI video once that happened, and I also lost my house, but you know, we don't talk about that. And before anybody complains, I even talked about this on their server and they said they would want to see the games I talked about, so take that. Ha! Well, I gotta get going now. I need to get ready for the Shovelware's Brain Game show. See you in like 2 weeks, I guess. Hopefully I can get this up ever in 2 weeks. Oh, and if you're a popular Roblox YouTuber who saw this, please hire me. I'm trying to become an editor for somebody.